Hello again from Trieste, from Piazza Sant'Antonio, one of the main squares in Trieste, although you don't see it very well, but there's a canal in front. And I wanted to do this video to answer one of the questions that has been put forward to me online on Twitter about what happens with people that commit very serious offenses like even killing people, for example, that have a mental health issue, and how the whole process of dealing with people without forensic psychiatric hospitals, how it works in Italy. So this is something that I've kind of asked before doing this video. I've asked, well, are we talking about Basaglia's views, or are we talking about how the system functions? Because this is a crucial difference in understanding what happened in Italy. So both the Basaglia law and I would say probably the more recent law to abolish forensic psychiatric hospitals have been compromises between different views. So the final product is not a product of Basaglian views, and that's that. It's a product of different views that basically have come together. So what happens? Well, I don't know much about it, meaning that I've never worked in forensic settings. To be fair, neither in the UK nor in Italy. And so what I know depends on basically what I know of Basaglian views and what I read about this reform. I know that this reform, the forensic side of things, has been questioned a lot by people that are on the Basaglian side of the argument. So it's not been as well. The Basaglia law has been questioned. The general psychiatric law has been questioned as well, but it's been over time. It's been seen as a victory of the democratic psychiatry movement, of a vision of care that moves away from a custodial approach to mental health issues. Whereas this latest reform is not so clear cut. So basically they've created these alternative institutions called REMS, which stands for something that I can't remember, but basically the idea is that these are smaller places than psychiatric hospitals, than forensic psychiatric hospitals, and that the goal of these places is not to function on a custodial basis or on custodial principles to monitor the person, but to rehabilitate the person. So as soon as you get in, you need to have a plan in place on how we're going to rehabilitate you, or what we're going to do to help you get better, basically. Now, to understand, and I read that in Trieste there are two forensic beds, and that the door is open, and that if the person leaves, they tell them, if you leave, we'll need to call the police, and nobody's ever left in 4 years. Now, to understand all of this, and this is something that I keep saying, but it keeps coming up, so I'll keep repeating it and we'll keep going on. To understand anything that happened in Italy, to understand anything of this reform, we need to understand the premises of our discussion. So the shift that Basaglia put forward has been a shift from a vision based on dangerousness of the person with mental health issues, so deciding how dangerous the person is, and based on that deciding if the person can be in the community or outside, or has to be basically emarginated and excluded from the community and put in a separate institution. That vision of dangerousness, of risk management, has been fundamentally challenged by Basaglia in favor of a vision strongly based on subjectiveness. So what can we do to help somebody who is struggling? And to help somebody who's struggling from a subjective, holistic perspective, you need to look at this person. So you can't just look at the dangerousness. can say, what do we do with a dangerous person? That's just us capturing one aspect of this person, one aspect from a very descriptive perspective, so you don't understand the experience of that person of being dangerous, why they're being dangerous, what this means for them. You're just capturing what your perception is as society of what this person does, which is it's dangerous, it's bad, we need to stop it. And I think that in Britain, there's a strong, I mean, happens in Italy as well, but we've had a critical discussion of this as a society, I would say in English, in Italy, and we didn't in Britain. So what you hear a lot in Britain is that you need to find a compromise between, the well-being of the person and the need to keep society safe. And in the Basalian view, there's much less of a difference between these two dimensions. So the extent to which you're able to look after the person, to make the person feel that their needs are fulfilled, will increase the level of safety for everyone else, for the person and for society. So the person will be less likely to be dangerous if their needs are answered. And so the goal of these REMs is to rehabilitate the person. Now, the truth is that this still, and this is probably the only part of psychiatry where this is true, this still responds to the logic of, you can stay in REMs, you can stay, if you have like a prison sentence, you can stay in a REMs for more time than what your prison sentence says you should be there. But still, the logic of whether you're ready to go back into society or not largely depends on this concept of, are you socially dangerous? And we are not very good at determining when somebody is socially dangerous because of the reasons that I've just mentioned. Because when you look at the appearance of how somebody looks and what somebody tells you, that's a very superficial understanding of whether this person is or will be dangerous, because it's just one dimension of an incredibly complex picture, of which you've ignored everything in Britain in services. So, for example, when I worked in a crisis team, I never knew, which was shocking to me, I never really knew the history of the people I was helping beyond some sketchy information, difficult childhood, things like that. But I never really had an understanding of what was going on from this person. I didn't try to build a relationship, so you didn't really have any tangible sense of what was going on. Now, the idea of the Basalian approach is that you gradually open up the system. So you don't open the door tomorrow morning, but you're able to open the door a bit at a time. The more you're able to provide the person with an answer to their needs. And this logic is a different logic from risk management. It doesn't ignore dangerousness, but it sees dangerousness as one of the many aspects that there are. But it looks at, why, if I assault someone, why did I assault someone? Which doesn't mean I'm justifying this person assaulting someone or killing someone. I'm trying to think about what actually happened and what the best way to help this person is, right? So this is of course controversial, but we're not able to do this even in Britain. So you get people that are let home and then a tragedy happens, whether it's a suicide or a homicide, the week after, because it wasn't predicted in the risk management, the risk assessment that this would happen, because risk assessments don't work, right? So we need to abandon this illusion that tragedies stop happening because psychiatric hospitals exist. They continue to exist. Now, the alternative is not abandonment. The alternative is a different system. I think that in this respect, the problem we have in Italy is the opposite of the problem in Britain. Because whereas in Britain we're very good at applying laws, but we're not very good, I think, at thinking through the reasons for our laws and the ideology behind them, especially in mental health care, probably not only. In Italy, there's a lot of philosophical discussions surrounding the meaning of our mental health system, but there's very little efficiency in terms of putting things together to help people, except maybe this city where I'm in now, and another few examples for historical reasons. So here we need to understand that defining the issue as what do we do with a dangerous person or somebody that did something violent is a perspective that is strongly biased in favor of risk management, and it is not the only description of what that person is going through. If you're asking how do we help this person, so if you say, well, we help this person letting them go home and kill their wife, I don't think that's helping that person, right? So we need to think about when we open the doors, and which doors we open and under what conditions we open the doors, and go through a process that is gradually trying to bring these issues within society. Again, the judiciary forensic mental health reform has been questioned, and it's, I don't know the details of it, but I think that the bottom line for when it comes to Britain is not to look at exactly what happened in Italy, but to understand the principles that, say Baselian principles, but not just Baselian principles, that move this reform and have brought the success that Trieste has been, and where this reform has been applied properly, what has come from that. That is the crucial element. If we understand that, then we can move forward. But there's no point, like Basaglia in the Negated Institution, this famous book that he wrote. He wrote a chapter called, I think, The Institutions of Violence. It's not available in English, but it's available in many other languages, in which he criticized a range of institutions of the state and advocate for a change in society, in the understanding of the institutions we build. So we could question the existence of prisons even, but we can't get ahead of ourselves, right? In Britain, the problem is we can't even help in open places somebody who's suicidal, who's never said anything dangerous at all. So if we're unable to do that, there's no point discussing, Jack the Ripper. There's no point jumping at the most difficult case on the planet to think about how we're going to deal with that. Let's start with the easier steps, and then when we move from step 1 to step 2 to step 3 in our process of deinstitutionalizations, we'll see that things get easier, and things that seemed impossible in the beginning will become more possible. So this is our focus now, not closing forensic, not closing Broadmoor in Britain, right? This is going to be after we've done all the rest. Let's think about what is a good starting point to get this process going. And anyway, in these days I'll do another episode from Trieste, so I don't know if we'll get a professional, but we'll get service users anyway. So if you have any question, please ask us. Thank you very much, and bye bye.